certain level, it sounds like it's a time that we are rochik from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If there are days that we can't say Shechiyanu v'kiyimanu v'giyanu lazman hazeh, so then it means that we're probably rochik, difficult days, bad days, days of midas adin. But let's try maybe to have a deeper understanding in the days of Shiva Sar B'Tammuz B'Frat and the 3 weeks B'Chlal. What exactly is Shiva Sar B'Tammuz? And what exactly is the 3 weeks as a general concept? I was leaving the Kollel yesterday and I saw a most interesting sight. I was walking toward my car and there was a police officer giving a ticket to somebody who wasn't wearing a mask. I don't know the rules in America or in England or wherever else the Olam is listening from, but in Eretz Yisrael, it's illegal. And if you don't wear a mask, so you get a ticket. And giving an Israeli fellow a mask for not wearing a ticket is not a simple process. And most Israelis are not going to go down simple, especially this guy. This was a fellow that was not going to go down easy. So you listen a little bit to the conversation, and he was yelling at him. He starts telling him, what about everybody else who's not wearing a mask? All the little thing that children tell you also. What about this guy and that guy? And then he said to him something which was very, very poignant. He said to him, why do you have to give me a ticket? As the Israeli cop who's writing without even looking at him in the face. Why are you giving me a ticket? Tainli azhara. Give me a warning. Give me a warning. Why do you have to give me a ticket? Just give me a warning. And as if the cop has, one pad for tickets and one for warnings. The cop doesn't have that, Rabbi say. What's the pshat that cops don't give warnings? What's the pshat? So the lumdis of a warning, the understanding of a warning is a hava. A warning is love. Who gives a warning? A parent gives a warning. That's how warnings are not a cop. You don't follow the rules, you get a ticket. You tell him, give me another chance, give me a warning. The warning is the rule. There's no warnings because a cop doesn't have a hava. This is not one of these anti-police protests right now, Rabbi say. But the cop doesn't have a hava. Even ask him from the NYPD, he'll agree. They don't have a hava. You broke the rule, you have to get a ticket. That's how it goes. There's no hava there. There's no love. And therefore, there's no mukim for a warning. Who gives a warning? A father gives a warning. We know we're going into the Chodesh of Av. Av is miloshin of an Abba, of a father. And this is a month, a time period, 3 weeks, which is pure love and pure ahava. It's a whole different way, Rabbi Yosef, looking at the 3 weeks. The Rebbeinu Shalom in these 3 weeks, he starts out with a warning, and it's not just a warning. It's the last warning. The Rebbeinu Shalom throughout the Sefer in Yeshaya and Yirmiyahu, he gave us countless rules and countless times that we were told that we were breaking the rules. And we were given warnings. A cop doesn't give a warning, but a father gives a warning. Why does the father give a warning? Because a warning is an expression of incredible ahava. I don't want to have to punish. I don't want to have a richak and have a problem in the relationship. The Shiva Sar B'Tammuz was the final warning. The 3 weeks is the hemshech of that final warning of the Rebbeinu Shalom waiting and saying, please, I don't want to give you a punishment. The 3 weeks and Shiva Sar B'Frat is an incredible expression of ahava, of love. A father gives a warning. Now, there's different fathers, and there's different people that give warnings. Sometimes the father gives warnings and warnings and warnings, but he's just too weak to give a punishment. That warning is not a warning which is an expression of ahava. That warning is just an expression of weakness and probably laziness sometimes, and not wanting to have to deal with the situation. But the Rebbeinu Shalom, we know he punishes. So when you have the Rebbeinu Shalom who punishes, and we see that with the strength that he has to give a punishment, the Rebbeinu Shalom is not weak. The Rebbeinu Shalom is oiz v'chad v'lefanov. The Rebbeinu Shalom has all the strength. He's the kol yachal, and he can punish. So when the one that has the koyach to punish and will punish gives a warning, so that's an expression of incredible ahava. And that means that we're going into a time period now of incredible ahava, incredible love, where the Rebbeinu Shalom is showing us that he has such love and such intense ahava, and he doesn't want it to end in a punishment. So the last warning and the last week of warning, the last 3 weeks of the warning, the Shvush Chalbo of warnings, is the Rebbeinu Shalom expressing to us incredible ahava. These are times of ahava. We don't say Shechiyanu v'kimanu because we got to this matziv. But when we're in the matziv, we have to go into a deeper Kallus and try to see where is it that HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves us and try to recreate that kesher. But it's days of ahava, days of tremendous, tremendous love. You know, somebody, a certain dayan, he was telling me that there's many divorces now as a result of Corona. Many divorces, right? By the Goyish Welt, there's a lot of murders, but in our Welt, there's lots of divorces. So he was telling me that in his Beis Din, he said that people come. He said there's two mahalchim over here. There's two mahalchim. Sometimes they come. There's a couple that got married 2-3 months ago, and he said, you know, and they fight, and they said the Beis Din tries very hard to work through it. To work it through it and to tell them that there was lots of stress in the last 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, and tries to work them through it and tries to make them, reconsider. He says, but sometimes he says rarely, but he had about 2 cases already where one of the parties just walked. The wife just walked out. There was no warning, there was no anything, and everything seemed fine. He said it was a very strange phenomenon. The Beis Din wasn't used to this. The husband was left shell-shocked. And then one day, his wife just picked up and left and didn't come back, sent him a text, BTW, I want a divorce. And it's it was something that the Beis Din didn't even know how to deal with it. It wasn't something that they were used to. And he explained that when there's a warning, when you have a husband and a wife that get up and say, that's it, if you do that again, I'm leaving. And there's a warning. So that is an expression of ahava. There's something there. There's an expression of ahava. And it's a warning. It's a warning. But when you have somebody that just gets up and leaves, so there's no warning, there's no nothing, there's no ahava, there's nothing to work with there. And that's obviously a much more difficult situation. And we're in a situation, we're in a time period right now where we have to learn up the sugya of ahava and how to create a relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. It says in the pasuk, "Kol rodfei hisigua beina mitzarim." Kipshuta means that we were trapped beina mitzarim. But in the deeper level, the Arizal says, Kol rodfei hisigu, kol rodfei ka. Anyone that runs after Hashem hisigua will find HaKadosh Baruch Hu beina mitzarim in these days. These are days of tremendous, tremendous ahava. And in days of ahava, Rabbi say, we have to start looking at a global picture, at a bigger picture, and not just ourselves. When the person wants to have a relationship with a Kadosh Baruch Hu wants to have a relationship with you. So in order to have that relationship with the Heilige Bashefer, you have to start thinking, what is it that makes a Kadosh Baruch Hu happy? What is it that makes a Kadosh Baruch Hu sad? Stop to focus on ourselves a little bit. And when we want to have a relationship, start to wonder the other party in the relationship, who is the party, who is the Rebbeinu Shalom. What gives a Kadosh Baruch Hu simcha? What gives a Kadosh Baruch Hu sadness? I remember when Rav Shach Zichron Livracha, when he was nifter, I remember there was a story that went around. The story was that at the Levaya, it was mamish. I remember I was at the Levaya, it was a Friday. It was a Friday and there was no spadim. They just read the Tzavar of Shach. It was a Friday and a very short Shabbos. And I remember getting there and it was very, very clear the sorrow and the anguish and the Agnes Nefesh. Klal Yisrael just lost their Gadol. Klal Yisrael just lost the Rosh Hashiva. Klal Yisrael just lost the Eitz Hador. Klal Yisrael just lost the connection to the previous door. And there was an ani, a certain tzedakah collector that was there also, and he was crying bitterly. And crying the tears of mamish of the biggest talmidim. This ani Ashnara that was also crying with the tears of the biggest talmidim of Rav Shach. When he was approached and asked, "What's the pshat that he's crying so bitterly?" He says, that Rav Shach every single day for the last 10 years he puts a shekel on his stender, and that shekel, that's my shekel. And when I come into the base medrash, he puts a shekel, or in his house at that point, he puts a shekel on the stender, and I take that shekel. He says, you realize I'm going to lose 350 shekel this year. I'm losing 350 shekel. The father of Klal Yisrael, the Gadol Hador, the Rosh Hashiva Hador, the Eitz Hador, the Urim V'Tumim Pashet, the connection to the Dor HaKodim, the eyes that looked into Chaim Oizer, the Gadol Hador. We lost the Sefer Torah. We lost the Luchas themselves. We lost our Sinai itself. Okay? And what is he crying about? He lost 350 shekel. Rabbi said we have to start looking with a deeper oigen, with deeper staklis into things. There's many tzaras in the world today. We have our own personal tzaras. We can't stand this matzav anymore. In Corona, the whole matzav is difficult. We don't even want to say the word bichlal. And other matzavim, and everybody has their own personal problem. And their own personal. But Rabbi said it's 350 shekel. Copy the greater picture. Copy the bigger picture that we're living now in times that there's so much awesome chilul Hashem. awesome Chil Hashem, so much Deus Koizvais in the world, so much of a world that is so mufka from the Ribbono Shel Olam and how the Ribbono Shel Olam would want the world to look. And it has to give us a tremendous feeling of sorrow, of pain, and agnes nefesh, that the Ribbono Shel Olam has pain. Person has to come the next time he davens. Most of us, when we daven, we take out our wish list and we think to ourselves what we need, and that's the most chance that we're going to have kavanah and tefillah. But I say, in these 3 weeks, where we're trying to create a relationship of ahava with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and we're trying to get back together that relationship when we're getting expressions of warnings from a Kadosh Baruch Hu, which are expressions of tremendous love. And these are expressions that Lasad Lava, the Arizal says, that the first day of Yom Tov is going to be Shivas or B'Tamas. And the last day of Yom Tov is going to be Tisha B'Av, and everything in the middle is going to be Chol Hamoed, which means that the greatest expression is going to be the beginning of the Yom Tov, which is Taka Shivas or B'Tamas. Because that's the greatest expression of ahava. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu shows us the warning over the course of these 3 weeks, is HaKadosh Baruch Hu expressing constant ahava. So if HaKadosh Baruch Hu is expressing ahava, we have to try to create that relationship. And stop to focus, become a part of Klal Yisrael in the next 3 weeks. Stop focusing on ourselves. Stop being self-centered. Look at the global picture, how much awesome Chil Hashem there is in the world, how much star Kallus that the Ribbono Shel Olam has. And to focus a little bit, something that we're not used to, going outside of ourselves. Focusing on the Ribbono Shel Olam, how he feels about what the world looks like today. And feel a little bit of the Tzara Shechina. It makes enough gamin in our davening. It makes enough gamin in our learning. It makes enough gamin in how we treat each other. When we know that the Ribbono Shel Olam has such awesome tzar. That's why a person, whenever he wants to focus on any relationship with a wife, with a spouse, he always has to look, what is it that would make that person happy? So we have to focus that the Ribbono Shel Olam, stop worrying about the 350 shekel and start to worry a bit more about the global picture, about the awesome Chil Hashem. You know, we're sometimes, it's very difficult for us because we're so mufka. We're so mufka. Our entire relationship sometimes with the Kadosh Baruch Hu is just, it's me, what I can get out of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. And we have to start making a relationship when a person will show that he has a care for a Kadosh Baruch Hu and a care for the Tzar Shechina and Tzar Galus and the Tzar and the Chil Hashem and the awesome Chil Hashem Noira that takes place today. The day is klizvos that permeate the world. Every shtus that goes on in the world. The bittul of all covet as we know it, of all society as we know it, and how much awesome tzar the Ribbono Shel Olam has from such a matzah. So in days that we are feeling an expression of ahava from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we have to express it back and start feeling that tzar Shechina, something that we're not used to. You know, we don't. Most of the time, the Rabbi they're so busy trying to give us to have some type of relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The thought of HaKadosh Baruch Hu suffering, of his tzar Shechina, that's what these days are about. Relationship means worrying about the other one and feeling the pain of the other one and feeling the awesome tzar Shechina. And it's hard for us because sometimes we're so disconnected. We're so disconnected from having that relationship. It doesn't even dawn on us. It doesn't even dawn on us. You know, there was a Jew, a socialist, a communist, quite a wicked Russia in the beginning of the Medina. His name was Zalman Oren. He was a terrible socialist and a communist. He became the Sarah Chinuch in Israel, in Medinat Israel. And he had he was absolutely, I think in the start of the Medina, he was the Sar HaChinuch. In English, that's the Board of Education, I suppose. He was the head of the Board of Education. And his goal and tachlis and magama was to uproot Torah and HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Emunah and every bit and semblance of religion from Israeli society. He worked very hard at his goal, and in short, he was quite a terrible person, And he was once saying over, I think in the Knesset actually, I think he was saying over his life story, and he said over like this. He said, you know, I was born to a Charedi Mishpacha. I went to Cheder, I knew Mishnayos, I knew Gemara Bal Peh, and I knew Tilim Bal Peh. He said, and then, you know, in 1917, I was a part of the communists and then the socialists and every ism in the world. No. He said, but you should know that when we were running away, when the war hit my city, and we were running away because they came after us first, and when we were running away and the bullets were flying over our head, he said, without me even realizing it, out of my mouth was coming Tehillim. And I was saying Tehillim, it was, I didn't even realize it, but it was so natural because I'd come from that type of a family and that type of a background. So the Tehillim that I was saying, without me even realizing it was Tehillim, he said, and then people were looking at me and I was so embarrassed. I was so embarrassed, you know, this is what he was. So there was a certain minister that was there, a certain minister in America means a priest. It was a certain Tsar, a certain government official that was there. And he went over to Zalman Arush afterward and he said to him, Zalman, you're a very big Russia. You're a very wicked man. Zalman said, me? Am I Russia? What makes me a Russia? What are you talking about? Right? So he said, I want to tell you, you should know, when I was in the war, I think he meant in the Sinai War in 55 or 56. He says, well, 54. He says, when I was in the war, he said, I was also in that situation that you were in, and the bullets were flying over my head also. And you know what? At that point, when I was that scared, I also wanted to have something to scream out of my mouth. I also would have liked to have had Tillim to stay out of my mouth. But you set up the system, the education system in Israel, to uproot and to make sure that I won't have something to scream when I'll be in that matzav of pachad. I should be able to decide if I want to scream or not or be embarrassed. You were able to decide. I wasn't even given the chance to decide. That's what he told Zalman Arush. There's a certain hergish sometimes that we have, that when we talk about the Rebbeinu Shalom and how much ahava he has for us, and talking about Tzar Shechina, sometimes we're so mufka and we're so disconnected that we don't even know how to scream. We don't even know. We wish we could have something to scream, and we wish we could have that relationship, but we're so mufka from that relationship. And sometimes we become also so self-absorbed in our own situations and our own matzavim. The 3 weeks is about creating that relationship. We don't say because it's sad that we're in the matzav, right? But the day after Tisha B'Av, we should be singing because if a person works on this relationship in the next 3 weeks, when the Rebbeinu Shalom is expressing so much ahava in these days, so then when he comes out of this, he'll no longer be just caring about the 350 shekel that he's losing, his own personal. He'll have a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He'll begin to see there's a bigger picture out there. This Sarah Shechina, having a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, worrying about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, caring about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, creates a relationship. Once a person has a relationship, it's a different life. It's a different life. You know what to scream. You know where to be saimich in life. In such a situation, this tremendous te'elis for his entire life, Rabbi Say, to have that type of a kesher. So the Eibusher should help us, Taka, that we should be zeicha, like it says in the Kisva Arizal, that the Shiva Ser B'Tamuz, that's going to be the first day of the Yontif. And that's a very incredible concept. The first day of the Yontif is not Tisha B'Av. The first day of the Yontif is Taka the Shiva Ser, because that's the warning. And it's not just a warning, it's a final warning. It's a pleading and begging father who's saying, I don't want to punish, even though I'm strong enough to, yes, punish. But I don't want to punish because I have tremendous ahava. It's not a kap, Rabbi Say. It's a father, it's an Avinu Av, a Chaydish Av, a Rachaman, who loves us, and we have to work on these 3 weeks to build that kesher. There never was a time before, I think, in most of anybody here in our lives, that we ever felt that the Rebbeinu Shalom was giving us those warnings. So instead of feeling, what's the warning? The warning is Rebbeinu Shalom maching us avek and pushing us aside. We have to take this feeling and realize it's an expression of intense ahava and tremendous love. And we should be zoicha taka that this day, today, Shiva Ser, Bez Hashem, next year, it'll be the first day of the Yontif of Shiva Ser B'Tamuz. And then Bez Hashem, it'll be Chol Hamoed, culminating in the grace Yontif of Tisha B'Av, Abba Aleinu, B'Toiva, Bez Hashem, B'Meir B'Yameinu, Amen.